Hi friends, it's Genevieve here and we're here for episode number 14. In this one, we're gonna be talking about how to find your niche, especially if you are multi-passionate. I know that it's really difficult because I have had so many different passions, so many different interests. And then when people tell me, well, you have to find your focus, I'm like, what? A focus? And so I've definitely done the runaround, and if you know me, you know that I have a very colorful background in work history and interests. So I get how this can be difficult, but I want to help you unravel that, how you can actually find your niche and feel really good and not feel boxed in. So in this video, I'm going to talk about all of the ways which you can niche down, but not feel like you are square. Yeah? We don't want that. Before we begin, do hit that subscribe button and that bell so you can be notified every time I come out with a new video. And I want to introduce myself in case you don't know me. I'm Genevieve Kim. I am a promo content genie. So basically what I do, I help you with your personal brands. And if you are an entrepreneurial dreamer and you're making that leap and you want to ditch your 9-to-5, I'm here to help you do that so that you become a successful entrepreneurial doer and increase your income, influence, and above all, your independence, yes, to be who you want to be. Anyhow, please do hit that subscribe button and we're gonna get started. First off, why niche down? Because it's so much easier for folks to find you and for people to say, yes, I know I can go to this person. It's really tough, like when we're like, oh, do you know someone who can do everything? Like it's kind of like one of those rarities, but we do know, like when we're asking for, wait, do you know someone who can help me edit my videos? By the way, I do know, so just ask me. Oh, do you know someone who's like really good at copywriting? Or even when we're talking about our healthcare practitioners, we go, oh, do you know someone like who's a really good OBGYN, right? Especially for the ladies, right? So when we talk about these things, we do tend to look for, certain specific keywords. And this is why niching down is important. So now that we know we laid that foundation, I want to talk about like what are the ways and how can we actually get into that niche. First off, I want to say that there's such a common misconception that, when we niche down, that it's something that we have to do for the rest of our life. And I just want to clear the air that we are not going to box you into doing something for the rest of your life. In fact, as you niche down and you think about all the different passions that you have, think about that this is really essentially something for you to focus on just for even the next year. Okay, so take out this thing of, oh my God, what do I gotta do for the rest of my life and what's going on my tombstone? No, it is not that permanent. In fact, just like how our skin, it changes every several years, our hair, it changes, everything goes through seasons, right? So is our business. And so to think that we're going to be stuck in one thing for the rest of our lives, well, gotta break it to you. No, everything evolves. Just put that pressure off and think about if you could focus on something for the next year, what would that be? And these are the questions that I would really ask you is first, think about what are the things that you're doing that are in your zone of genius. So many of us are not actually working in our zone of genius. Yes, we might be working in our zone of excellence, but not our genius. And so to differentiate between the two, our zone of genius is when we are in absolute flow and we're doing what we absolutely love and that we're super talented at, and it goes without saying, we just do it naturally, or we have a propensity to just want to keep learning and dive into it, and that time goes by so super quick when we're doing it. And then when we're in our zone of excellence, does this mean that, we can't be in flow or that, it isn't something that we're not talented? No, that's not what that means. Our zone of excellence is something that we are really good at doing, but it just isn't the thing that like lights us up on fire per se. When you're thinking about your zone of genius, I want you to take out a piece of paper and in one column, write down every single thing that you absolutely know that you're super passionate about. You don't have to have someone ask you to do it twice. You're just automatically doing it. You love it. It lights you up. It actually gives you a sense of like freedom and expansion to be doing it, and it's not a headache. Really, it's just kind of a natural flow for you. Okay. And then in another column, I want you to write things that you're super good at doing, and that not necessarily are the things that they light up for you, right? Okay. So For me, an example of when I am in my zone of genius, it is actually when I'm teaching. I love to teach, okay? And the zone of excellence is that I'm a pretty good cook. Do I love doing it all the time? And is it something that I naturally gravitate towards? Not really. I've done it a lot and often, and it's not the thing that I naturally go to, right? If I had to pick something over cooking that is something that is more in my zone of genius, it would be writing, right? Like I love to write and it's kind of just comes naturally. So those are the two differentiators I would say is like the level of just ease and love and frequency at which like you just naturally want to do it, okay? So differentiate between the two, because just because you're really good at something doesn't mean that that's necessarily something that you need to be focusing your time on. Then the next part in narrowing down your niche is really thinking about who do you love working with, okay? The types of people that you enjoy working with. When we think about business and, the impact that we're ultimately wanting to make in this world, it's like, who do we want to do that with? Right? And I know so many of us oftentimes fall into the trap. It's like, I want to help everybody. And yes, I mean, it would be grand if we could do that, but let's just pause for a moment and think about, again, going back to just if we were to focus on a specific group in the next year, right? Just like we were thinking about our zone of geniuses and where we would play for the next year. Let's think about that with, the folks that we want to work with and who we're working with and for, and with all of that combined, like think about like what is that, So for me, for example, I knew that it was really important for me to be working with other really highly creative folks. I was also very interested in working with folks with a lot of different perspectives. Like I value so much culture, right? So for me, it was important to be in a certain environment where all of those came together, and that was a value. I also thought that it was really important to have a specific kind of niche. I'm so into creatives, especially who are focused on, storytelling and narratives, right? So that was really important for me. And as that became, clearer and clearer and clearer, my love and my interest for that storytelling and that narrative also zeroed in on the types of people I would work for, right? What types of clients would actually be interested in this particular, interest of mine. So, that matchmaking pool of, what your zone of genius is, and then going down to like who you want to work for is already going to narrow down and solidify, right? And the other pool that we're thinking about that even narrows that down even further is thinking about how we're going to do that just in the next year. Like, what does that look like? Not thinking so far out in advance. And then the last thing that I would say is do not be afraid to create some sort of role that has never been done before. That is probably one of the best ways to niche down. Some of us are like, wait, but who would really want someone who's a really good teacher and who is a really good storyteller, who also does photography and knows how to design and, used to be an opera singer and used to do this, and all of these things. And then it dawns on you that all of those things that you're really interested in, that are your zone of genius, are the exact very skills that are required to do the work that you're about to do. And for me, that's what it was when I realized that I could combine not only my love of personal narrative, right? The narratives of people through photography and then also through words and story, and then also seeing that happen and play out in businesses, right? So being able to take the narrative to the business side and then also being able to be a teacher with that, right? And that combination is where I am today. So I was able to put down all of these different zones of geniuses. Is that even a word? Genii? All of these areas, right? Into this very small area. And who I wanted to work with was very specifically, I wanted to work with creatives. So here you have someone who is doing personal branding and content development specifically for creatives. And there you have a niche. What made me feel comfortable about this and where I didn't feel like I was in a box is that I told myself that for the next year or so, I just allowed myself to think that this doesn't have to be something forever. This isn't a lifelong commitment. Again, as I mentioned to you before, is that our business, just like every other, everything else in life, is organically going to change. It is going to evolve, and that's okay. This first stage, consider your zone of genius, and then who are the folks that you want to work with specifically, and where do you want to start? It's just the beginning, guys. So I would love to hear what your zone of genius is, and if you can comment in the section, make a comment below. And also, if you haven't already, like and hit that subscribe bell, and we'll see you next episode. Bye, guys.